Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to today's session. We're just waiting for more attendees to join. I can see participants coming in and also one of our speakers. So we'll just start the session in 2 and 3 minutes.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Sadan. Okay.
Okay, fair enough. Thank God.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so let's get started with the session. Welcome everyone to another session of Climate Startup Week. Uh, and I know this is a really awaited session for many of our audience, as we know that there is a continued interest from all of you about sessions based on carbon credits and carbon markets. And with the new carbon credit trading scheme being launched in June, we know that there is a renewed interest from our audience to get themselves acquainted with carbon markets. But before getting started, I would like to introduce myself and Climate Collective. So hi everyone, I'm Polumi. I'm an impact consultant at Climate Collective. So what we do as an impact team is basically support startups in calculating and reporting their climate impact. We have also developed our in-house impact measurement tools and impact certificates for verification of impact figures. And we'll talk about it later during the session. But before that, I'll just quickly introduce Climate Collective. Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Climate Collective is a non-profit and we work in the climate tech sector. We basically is focused on entrepreneurship support for early stage climate tech ventures. We have been in the space for more than 7 years now, and we have supported more than 860 startups from different domains of climate tech, for example, energy, mobility, waste, agri-tech, sustainable foods, etc. We have also undertaken more than 60 accelerator programs. We are, although majorly working in India, but we have different projects in different parts of Southeast Asia, as well as UAE. Although our key support focus is on startup founders, but we also take an ecosystem approach when it comes to our offerings. So we have also dedicated programs such as the Climate Startup School that supports aspiring entrepreneurs in the climate tech space. And through the Climate Startup School, we have courses that can help the aspiring entrepreneurs develop skills and capacity while they are approaching the climate tech ecosystem. Through our capital platforms, we are also supporting startups in getting access to capital in the different stages of their entrepreneurship journey. We'll just link the link to Climate Startup School in the chat below. So if you want to have a look, please access the link. We have also launched our own climate accelerator program. And if you are a startup founder looking to develop your business skills and meeting fellow entrepreneurs in the space, this is really a great platform. I will also share the link in the chat below. Yeah, and this is some of the verticals that Climate Collective is working on. Yeah. And apart from that, we also have a lot of community programs that we are focusing on. For example, different events like the Climate Startup Week that we are undertaking right now. We also have the Climate Jobs Board, again, specifically dedicated to startups. So if you're a startup founder looking to build your team, Climate Jobs Board should be like a go-to platform for you. We also have our newsletters, which is also one of our offerings for the community. Okay, so that said, I would now like to introduce our esteemed speakers for the panel. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah, so we have Samrat Sengupta from EKI Energy Services Limited. He's the Vice President of New Businesses and Marketing Strategy at EKI, and he brings 2.5 decades of experience in renewable energy and low carbon development. He has expertise in areas of policy research and advocacy at the national as well as international levels. He has successful track records of strategizing businesses based on novel technologies and systems and managing startup profit centers, projects, and programs. Welcome, Samrat. We also have Mr. Sadanand Tiwari, who is a Deputy General Manager also from EKI. Sadanand has been at the forefront of the organization's efforts in Southeast Asia and South India. He has been leading the business development team in these regions and have also been extensively involved in developing carbon credits through innovative technologies and fostering collaboration. So welcome, Samrat and Sadanand. Over to you.
Hi, Paula.
Hi,
Yeah.
thank
Hi,
you. Thank you for the introduction. Hi, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. So, you may like to take through the initial formal presentation, and
Sure,
I
sir.
can
Sure.
join you.
Right. I'll just share my screen then. Hold on. I think,
Yes, it is visible.
but I think it's on my virtual background, I believe.
Yeah.
No issue. Carry on.
That's the beauty, every time.
It's fine, Sadanand. We can start.
Yeah, but I mean, is the screen visible like exactly what,
Yeah, it's
or is it
Yeah.
just on the background?
It's absolutely visible. Yeah, it's
It is fine.
Please go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hi, very good evening, everyone. Firstly, thanks for this opportunity here to speak about this very interesting topic. Very glad to hear, very delighted to see actually that you're talking on this topic as well, where the startups are interested into this carbon market. So I will quickly introduce our company first. Okay, so can you confirm again if I've changed the slide? Like, is it visible?
No,
No.
it is not moving. Should I share the screen?
Sir, if it is okay for you, yeah,
Yeah,
please.
just. You stop the sharing. It is not allowing me to.
Yeah, even I'm trying to.
Follow me if you can control from there. This fine.
I think it's on. Yeah.
Yes, it's done. So it is visible now?
It's
Screen?
visible.
Yes, sir, it's visible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about this inconvenience, guys. I'm really sorry. So yeah, just to begin with, I would like to introduce firstly EKI. Very briefly, we are actually based out of Indore, Madhya Pradesh in India, and we have been in this market of carbon credits, or let's say you can talk about sustainability and climate change, last more than 15 years. We are one of the world's leading net zero carbon neutrality offset solution provider. We are also listed in stock exchange, that is in BSE India. Our track records are quite strong. We have already traded more than 200 million offsets until now, and we hold a very huge team. It's more than 250 people, associates who are working not only from India. We also have a global presence in more than 18 countries. So as you know, on my introduction, you heard about that. I'm taking care of the Southeast Asia region. So we have our local presence in Vietnam, countries like Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines. Then we are also there in Turkey. We are there in the MENA region. We are there in UAE. Then Egypt is also considered. Egypt is also there. We have also tapped the African market where we have a local presence in Kenya, Ghana, then also Latin area, which is under Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina. So EKI has been forefront into all the initiative regarding carbon credits or climate change, and we are proudly fostering all our clients at all level. We are assisting them in their net zero targets, in their net zero journey as well. Sir, could you change the slide, please? So I think this was just a quick introduction on EKI and what exactly we do. We have a lot of verticals that are already there with us. We are serving our clients, whether it is on sustainability part, whether it is on carbon financing, carbon offsetting. So we cater all these services. So EKI is basically a one-stop solution for all the climate change and carbon credits related problems that we have, or sustainability. You can also include in that. Sustainability is something that we have been talking about these days. There is a lot of fuss around this topic of sustainability, climate change. So one of those topics is all related to net zero. So can you please change the slide? Yes. So about net zero, there has been a lot of talks around it whenever we are talking on carbon credits or climate change or sustainability. We talk about net zero, and it's a very important topic because some of you might have heard about the NDCs, that is nationally determined contributions. So EKI is actually involved in a lot of activities. As I told you that we cater governments or even the companies to have their net zero targets, to achieve their net zero targets. So what exactly it's a net zero? I just wanted to bring everyone down on the same concept here on this panel. So basically, it refers to a state in which the amount of greenhouse gases that has been emitted due to the human activities into the atmosphere is basically balanced by the amount of GHG removed from the atmosphere. It's basically effectively resulting into no net increase in the concentration of these gases. So we are talking specifically about the GHG gases, and achieving net zero is a very critical goal in the fight against climate change. Many countries and organizations, I mean, you might have heard that, India also has a net zero target that we need to achieve it by 2070. So many countries, they have their own net zero targets, and that's why it's a very important goal that needs to be achieved by every country or organization. So many companies and organizations are actually setting up ambitious net zero targets as part of their climate action plans to mitigate global warming and limit the rise in global temperature to well below 2 degrees Celsius, above the pre-industrial levels. So, and everything, all of this has been all connected to the Paris Agreement, the era that we are right now, post 2020. That's where a lot of countries came up, and there are a lot of negotiation is also happening around that in COPs. So recently the COP will happen in UAE. So everybody is waiting, is keeping a very close eye on that, because a lot of updates are being anticipated by that time. Sir, could you please change the slide? So having said that about net zero, as I told you about NDCs, just to define NDCs, these are basically commitments that individual countries make to outline their contribution to the global effort to mitigate climate change. And they are basically like the foundation. They are like a foundation of the entire global climate action. But you can see here, from this graph, that it's clearly evident that right now, in order to limit the warming of less than 1.5 degrees Celsius, we are actually at a minus 43% level. There a lot of work has to be done right now from 2019. And if we need to limit the warming to 2 degrees Celsius, it is still minus 21. The percentage is less than 21 than what's there. So a strong, I should say, action has to be taken by the governments, by the organization, by the individuals, and that is where the companies like us, we are working towards it. We are working towards towards helping the companies, the governments to achieve that net zero target, so that we can limit our global warming, per degree by at least 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius. So that brings to me to this entire discussion about, as I told you, that EKI has been forefront into the carbon market. We are one of the leaders, I should say, in India. By far, we are leading by example. To be very honest, the similar way we want to make a mark in the global carbon market, which we are already doing it. We have a huge market share in compliance carbon credit, or voluntary carbon market. So it all started in 1992. To be precise, 1997, we heard about this word called carbon credits, where it all started in Kyoto, that is in Japan, where Kyoto Protocol was signed. And post that, it was a part of the compliance carbon market. Just to brief up, there are the entire carbon market is divided into two parts. One is the compliance one, which is most about regulation. It's run through regulatory bodies. The government is regulating them. And the second one is the voluntary carbon market. As the name suggests itself, it's more about the voluntary, on the voluntary basis, where companies and organizations and individuals, they take voluntary approach to offset their emissions. So having said that, international agreement, it all started in 1997. Kyoto Protocol under UNFCCC, where the entire compliance market was set up, which is called CDM, Clean Development Mechanism, which also had two periods that you can see here. That international target period. You can see that from 2008 to 2012, the Kyoto Protocol commitment period was there. That was the first commitment period, that is from 2008 to 12. And then we came into the second commitment period, that was from 2013 to 20. So 2015 was the time when the Paris Agreement was there, and 2016 the Paris Agreement came into the force. However, since 2021, post the Kyoto Protocol era was done, post 2020, we started the Paris Agreement era. The new rules, the Article 6, which was more related to carbon market, I should say, was discussed and negotiated, and still we are waiting for some clearance on that particular part. If I talk specifically about the compliance schemes that we have across the globe, we have, of course, this Kyoto Protocol CDM. Then we also have EU ETS, which I think many of you might have heard about it, because of the prices. The prices in this ETS have always been in the news. I mean, people, they compare, they take, they consider them as a real pricing of carbon credits, but that's not the true. The dynamics of compliance carbon market and voluntary carbon market is quite a different. So compliance schemes examples, as you can see, these EU ETS, New Zealand ETS, California, Chinese, Korea ETS, and Chinese national ETS, and Corsia. Now talking about voluntary, yes, there are a couple of mechanisms, couple of GHG standards that I should say are already there. The first one was in 1996, ACR. Then CAR came in, then gold standard, VCS red. Then we also have GCC, which was recently introduced. So these are all voluntary carbon, market or voluntary carbon standards that you can say. And to be honest, just to give you a brief difference into this, the mechanisms are different, but at the end of the end results are always about carbon credit. That is 1 ton of CO2 equivalent emission reduction or removed from the atmosphere. So the definition stays the same, whether it's compliance or voluntary. The process of developing those carbon credits is also the same. Moreover, the time taking, there is a difference in time taking. The fee structure would be different. Rest everything stays the same. So yeah, this is what more about compliance and voluntary carbon market. We can have a more detailed question and answer round. I would be more than happy to answer all your queries regarding that. Now I would like to hand over to Mr. Samrat to take it forward from here on Article 6 of Paris Agreement. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sadanand. Thank you. So we have, Sadanand has talked about the history of carbon market and what is the present status of voluntary carbon market. Basically, you have seen that the emission gap report, or particularly the global stock take, which is the main topic of discussion of this year COP in Dubai. It has already projected. The last week, the meeting concluded that even there is a huge gap of what is required to be done and what is being committed. And committed by parties. Party means the national governments of various countries. The gap is almost in the tune of 50%. If we have to limit this global warming doesn't breach the destructive level, doesn't come to that destructive level, which IPCC has defined that if we can limit it at 1.5 degree, it is ideal. If we can't, it should be never cross the 2 degree centigrade level, then it will be a disaster for mankind as well as all sorts of flora and fauna. So that amplifies the requirement of a business and private's participation to meeting this huge uphill task. And possibly in today's world, beside carbon market or carbon credit trading mechanism, there is no other tested and successful way to engage a business sector in the decarbonization journey. So post Kyoto era, due to various reasons, when the market got crushed, because it was mostly a top-down approach that has been taken in Kyoto, where the overall market was dominated by compliance. Compliance run by various national or regional ETS, which Sadanand has described, and also a multilateral compliance system under Kyoto Protocol. And though there are 3 particular mechanisms, CDM was the most prominent one, where parties who doesn't have a binding commitment can participate in that. parties who doesn't have a binding commitment can participate in that market, and the parties who has commitment can purchase those credits to meet their commitment figure. But due to various global dynamics, particular political dynamics, North America was almost absent in that mechanism. They haven't participated. And post 2008, when Europe got into a economic recession, the market started diffusing, and beyond 2012, the market suddenly crashed. Then in the Kyoto in the Paris era in 2015, we have bypassed the differentiated part in UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The agenda was having a responsibility which is differentiated among the various polluters. Polluters pay principle. So in the Paris era, we have kept that aside and said everybody has to take their take the ownership of doing something for this global decarbonization. And it was not a top-down, it is a bottom-up approach where every country has given a flexibility to decide their own NDCs. And that NDC get revised every 5 years. So initially we have taken an NDC in 2015, then we have revised it in 2021. That's all. As per the latest NDC commitment, what the countries has committed, there is a gap of approximately 45 or 60% based on the year 2030. What we need to be achieved, there is a gap of 45%. So the business sector participation and how to make this business sector participation is carbon market is the possibly the only viable way that was available, where we make the business sector participating in the decarbonization journey. Now, in post Kyoto, in the United Nations, which was earlier being famous for its CDM mechanism, as per Article 6 of Paris Agreement, there are few market-based mechanism and non-market-based mechanism being defined. One is 6.2, that is talked about Article 6.1, 6.2 and 6.4. The text is giving this PPT will be circulated. You can go through it. I am just running through impromptu. So Article 6 talks about various market and non-market mechanism, and particularly 6.2 and 6.4 are important for the market-based mechanism aspects. What 6.2 talks about, that a country A has taken a commitment of NDC, and in its efforts towards meeting in NDC commitment, if they have overachieved or underachieved, they can transact the overachievement or underachievement with another party who has vice versa the other way achievement. Suppose India has a over achievement of X, and a party can be a developing party. There is no bifurcation on economic status. Have a underachievement of similar amount, the sovereign government can trade among themselves. And this is Article 6.2, and in Paris Agreement we called it ITMO, Internationally Transferred Mitigation Outcome. So in 6.2 they have given the responsibility to the country government to decide bilaterally or multilaterally. Suppose India wants to trade with Singapore. Singapore and India can set up their own secretariat to trade it define which type of projects to be registered, and then develop a mechanism how to register those projects and then transfer those mitigation outcome among themselves. And this should be done with corresponding adjustment. Suppose India is selling and Singapore is purchasing. So from India's NDC registry, it should be deducted and it should be added back to the Singapore registry. So that is called corresponding adjustment. Similarly, Article 6.4, more or less the same concept, but here the trade doesn't happen through sovereign government involvement. Government is only a approving authority to allow to trade the credit from your project to outside the country. And in 6.4, it is particularly on the same background of clean development mechanism, and it is meant for business sector participation into voluntary project development and then get it approved by the government. Also, there is this provision of, if you don't require to be treated as a ITMO, you don't require to get it approved by country, host country or purchasing country government. You can sell it like a, or you can trade it like a voluntary carbon credit, and that is called other international mitigation mitigation contribution. So there are the present development on this part is that Article 6.4, the supervisory body in UN has already concluded the modalities to transfer the CDM projects which was registered with CDM Executive Board of UNFCCC into Article 6.4, where there are sufficient life of the project is remaining, so that they can avail the benefit of trade of those credit. But there will be certain procedures of revalidation and re-registration of the project into Article 6.4. Now, UN is concluded the SB6 Supervisory Body Meeting 6, where they have given a deadline that within 31st December, all presently registered project in CDM who wants to get it transferred to Article 6. Supervisory body should approach through a possible through a procedure, that is online request submission to UN, and post 31st December, UN will take it up for revalidation and re-registration in supervisory body. So in coming future, along with the voluntary carbon credit, which is Sadanand has told you, by various independent registry system like VCS, GS or gold standard, where the corporate action mostly concentrated, which doesn't relate to country ITMOs. This Article 6.4 has a huge potential for private participation, where along with the corporate contribution, it has all the facilities to be treated as ITMO, to be treated as part of their NDC accounting principle. So Article 6.2 is an opportunity for India, and Government of India has already, you might have seen last February or March, they have came out with their preferred list of projects. There are 13 technology and activities they have listed down there. Most of it are novel technologies like green hydrogen, green ammonia, urea, carbon CCUS, carbon capture utilization storage, or the energy storage technology, and also they have come with a CBG part of it. So there are 13 list of activities which Government of India has freezed for initial 3 years, where government will encourage private participation in 6.2, and government will develop its own registry system in partnership of possible investing country. Presently, Japan has signed a agreement with India, and modalities will be out in couple of months because Japan has a long-standing experience of doing this or practicing this mechanism under the name of JCM, which they are doing it for almost last 12-13 years. So they will be modifying to accept Article 6.2 into that. Similarly, Singapore is in process of signing agreement with us, and possibly other northern developing country who will be interested to sell their novel technologies in India is primarily interested. But we as a carbon market advocate also pushing Government of India to consider India's participation with other developing nation in the south, particularly Africa, Southeast Asia, or South Pacific, where they require technology transfer from India to their country to take this Article 6.2 routes, which can be a very good way of technology transfer and a win-win situation for both the receiving and the selling country. This is, I am talking about the Article 6.4. What is this has already I have talked about it. 6.4, the basic paradigm that it may give the required credibility, transparency, which the present market is. There are a lot of talks going around about the carbon credit credibility issues and everything, and 6.4 has the possible muscles as well the rigor in it to address those issues, and that will automatically get transferred into the voluntary market system, because all this voluntary carbon credit, they ultimately follow the CDM methodology almost 99%. There are few methodologies individually being developed at GS or VCS level, but most of it CDM technology they follow, and any technological upbringing to bring on more accountability and credibility into the system will automatically going to reflect into the voluntary credit system. And presently, UN supervisory body is working hard on it. May it requires a couple of years to make the system up and running with 100% efficiency, but the future is always bright. We have to be patient. Now, I like to talk about the national ETS and why I have put, or we have put the initial label as environmental derivatives, because there is a new environmental commodity is is getting discourse in public discourse by particularly leadership of India as green credit. It is primarily addressing environment beyond climate. So there are two aspects of national environmental commodity trading system. One is the CCTS, the Government of India's carbon credit trading scheme, which was announced around last week or second last week of June this year, and they are primarily meant for cap and trade regulated system. you might have heard about RPO and PAT, the Renewable Energy Purchase Obligation, or what you called REC, and Performance Achievement Trade System under Energy Efficiency, which was this two system was active in India for last half a decade or more than half a decade. There are a lot of learnings from that, and with that, based on that learnings, we are shifting from this energy efficiency and renewable energy derivative system to everything to be now accounted as a carbon emission reduction system or carbon credit terminology. So in the PAT scheme, there are around 1100 big industries in India who are obligated to take actions for reduce their energy footprints in the terms of efficiency, means per tonnage of steel production, what is the energy usage. They have part cycle every 3 years. They used to get a target that they should reach within next 3 years, that they are at this moment X, so they have to achieve X minus delta X. And if they are failing to achieve S minus delta X, either they have to purchase those credit in the form of escort to another entity who have overachieved, or they have to pay a penalty. Now, the carbon credit scheme will be initially active as a cap and trade system between the same obligated entities under PAT. There may be a little bit addition or deletion will happen. Possibly there will be addition. And it will be run as a obligated system within India, and there will be no interaction from international or national voluntary carbon credit with that system for initial purpose. And that's the history of ETS throughout the world. And maybe in future it has been talked about, but not part of the present graduate notification. There will be a provision of interaction with the voluntary carbon credit. So this is mainly will help our industries to meet various international trade related obligations like CBAM, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, or CORSIA, which is related to aviation industries, and Indian aviation industry is taking step to be part of the CORSIA. From 2027, they will be, as a part of obligation, will participate in the CORSIA. So there are, you might have seen, there are a lot of activities in the field of SAS, the Sustainable Aviation Fuel sector in CORSIA. Similarly, for CBAM, all the big steel, aluminum, cement giants who have substantial export activity, particularly in European countries, they are very active to reduce their emission intensity so that they should not get into a huge tax barrier while selling their commodity in European market. So we can discuss if you have specific query on that, because this is a sector which making the business sector interest in participating in carbon market immediate with immediate result to their businesses.
Hi, Samrat.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, please.
I have a few questions.
Please carry on.
Yeah. So, okay. So before we move on to the Q&As, because I can see a lot of questions coming from the audience, I would like to launch the polls. I would request Akshay to launch the polls. Akshay, if you can go ahead and launch the polls. So, since I know there's a lot of interest about climate impact and the carbon market, etc. So we have a few questions for the audience here. And I would request the audience to please answer the questions that are appearing on your screen. that will always like help us to know you better and also design sessions and
Yeah.
offerings, yeah, from our side better. So I'll just wait for 2 minutes and
Sure.
I'll just proceed for the Q&As. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Sadanand and Samrat, for such an interesting discussion. But I know we are nearing time. We are at time, so we'll have to proceed to the Q&As. But yeah, I mean, if anybody is interested to like discuss more, we can share the coordinates of our speakers, and you can please feel free to have a chat one-on-one. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Pallavi.
So, Paulami, will you moderate on the Q&A?
Yeah, yeah. I'll just curate a few questions that we have in common and that are repeatedly coming up in our sessions. Yeah. And you can take that up.
Okay.
Okay. We'll just wait for 1 more minute and head to the Q&A.
Should I stop sharing?
Yes, you can. Okay, Akshay, you can end the poll and we can move to the Q&As now. Okay. All right. So, okay, so we'll take some generic questions like the audience wants to know, is there any compliance requirement for participating in carbon markets for startups, for early stage startups?
It is not relate to startup, it's relate to project. So definition of participation relates to project, and yes, there are very stringent and very strict rule on participation. Means you have to define your project activity, which get registered into the system. After you prove that your project really doing emission reduction, as well as you have to prove that you require this financial support in the form of carbon finance to flow into the system to make this project on ground, because we have to show the financial additionality also, that beside carbon finance the project may not be financially so attractive for the investor to take us down.
Right. Thanks. Regarding procedures, how long does the verification process of carbon credits typically take? And what kind of documentation and data is usually required for verification of carbon offset projects? If you can throw some light on that.
The time period requirement is based on various factors. It's based on the market activity, the amount of manpower being available with the registry, the validator. So as per present situation, Sadanand can say that 1.5 years is, am I right, Sadanand? Is the
Yes, sir.
whole,
I mean,
yeah.
yes, Paul. I think before going for verification, I think it's very, I mean, you have to understand that we also have a validation process as well, which itself will take around 7 to 8 months for that. And considering the current situation that we have, because there are a lot of bottlenecks that we are facing in terms of getting the project validated and as well as verified, because it is just not advisory services like EKI who are, or the project owner is part of it. The entire process includes other entities like the registry itself and as well as the DOE, the designated operational entity. So we need to manage all the stakeholders at one go. So validation verification 7 to 8 months, and then validation 7 months, and you can add another 7 to 8 months for verification and issuance, and after that the trading process starts.
Right. Okay. Regarding pricing, also we have a few questions. First is that what are the factors that determine the current market price of carbon credits? And is there different prices for different regions and different sectors? Does it vary?
I was wondering that why the pricing question did not come up. Yeah. So that's the most important question, because after all, it's all about the revenue that people are talking about. So one thing I think before answering for this specifically on the pricing part, we need to understand that carbon credit is also a commodity. So commodity behaves in a certain way, right? It's on the supply and demand. Similarly, the credits are also behaving in the same way. It all depends on what is the supply and what is the demand. It also depends how the global economics are doing, the country economics are doing. Then yes, geographical location, different geographical location will have a different carbon credit price. Like for example, the countries like the credits that are being generated from India, like a developing nation like India, will have a different pricing. And when we compare to the countries like LDCs, least developed countries, they will have a different price. The pricing also differs on the technology part, SDG goals, So these are all the parameters are there, which change the pricing game. As well as it's very difficult for anyone to fix a price of these kind of commodity. We can just anticipate that, we can just follow the market trend, which we are also which we focus on in order to give any kind of pricing.
Right. And does the pricing also varies as per the certification standards and methodologies that someone is using?
Yes, of course. I often give this example, that the credit pricing, yes, it differs from standard to standard. It's as good as getting a degree from an IIT or an IIM or an NIT, right? So at the end of the day, at the end of 4 years, you get an engineering degree. But the job, the offer, the CTC is different for an IIT guy, IITN, or for an IIM guy, or for an NIT. The same way is here as well. The pricing differs from technology, from GHG standard, like the standards are also available. So it differs from standard to standard.
Right. And from the buyer's perspective, what is the primary criteria that buyers consider while purchasing carbon credits?
These days, what we have seen is that the buyers, they look up to the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. They look up, what it should not be just about climate action. So for example, the credits from community-based projects, let's say an improved cook stove, or clean water cooking projects, they often get, because they are coming up with different, it adds up to the SDGs as well. So the pricing of these credits are different. The buyer want to show in their portfolio that they just are not thinking about the climate change. They are also thinking about the well-being, the livelihood of the community as well. They want to add more value to the community. So these are the factors, these are the parameters that they look up to while choosing for credits.
Right. Also, some questions we have from the audience on operations. So when will the Article 6.4 market be operational? And if you have any idea about when is the carbon market operation starting?
6.4, we can expect mid of next calendar year. New project registration modalities will come on light. And if you call about market after project registration or after transfer from CDM to 6.4, depend on the issuance. So 2 years down the line, the real credit of the 6.4 going to hit into the market. But as a derivative market, it has a forward and future concept associated with it, particularly 6.4. So the forward or future agreement will start rolling possibly by this year end onwards.
Okay. And I'll take one more question.
Another answer. The CCTS will be, it is announced. So initial 2 years, it will be involuntary, the Indian CCTS or Indian ETS. And possibly from 26 onwards, there will be a regulatory provision to run this CCTS.
Right. Thanks. I think that question is answered. And we can take the last question. How are schemes and standards different? If you can share your views on carbon credits implementation in local government projects, if you have anything to add to that.
Scheme define the procedure and boundaries. Standard define how you calculate. What are the technical screening criteria of a project to get itself registered and certified as a credit developer. So more or less the standard is similar to all across the various part of the carbon market. It is compliance market, or it is CDM, or Article 6.4, or voluntary. But every scheme has its own procedural aspects, and its boundary get defined into the procedure, how the trade will happen, how the so-called retirement of the credit, usage of the credit will happen, and everything. So that is the difference. Shadanand, you like to add?
No, sir. I mean, you have covered it completely about the scheme and the standard part. There's a major difference. Of course, it's all about the procedures, which is there into standard. And I also believe that schemes are mostly driven by the government. They are the one who, they are the one who apply these kind of rules and regulations. So we have to adhere to those kind of things.
Okay, great. Thank you everyone for being such a engaging audience. I know we are at time. So once again, thank our speakers, Samrat and Sadanand, for such an insightful session. And I truly believe that we'll have more such sessions in future, because there are so many questions. I know we could not take most of them, but I just took with that the repeating questions that we have usually coming time to time. So thank you everyone, and thanks for being such a wonderful audience, such an engaging audience. And when you close the session, this is a request to all the participants. There will be a survey coming up. Please, I request everyone to answer that survey, and that will help us knowing the audience much better, and we can also take your inputs to design better and custom made sessions tailored for you. And this, as I told, this is part of our Climate Startup Week. We also have many other sessions all throughout the week, so please feel free to check out our Climate Startup Week website. And yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks again. Thanks,
Thank
Sadanand.
you, Paulini.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Bye.